Yo, what's going on today, guys? Today I'm going to be running over my top wide receivers for the 2024-2025 NFL season. I'm kind of excited to jump into the new season coming up here soon. We're going to have draft season coming up in a few months in the summer. And essentially, I'm just trying to be as prepared as possible. But, as long as you do your homework, you'll be right and you'll know exactly who to pick when the time comes. And that's kind of the objective today. So I guess let's start it all off. You can see I have my tier list going right here. I got the 20 points plus boy. Those guys are going to get you guaranteed 20 points per game, likely. And then the next tier we have the 17 plus. They will run, meaning these guys are going to stretch downfield. Puka's going to play a little more of the slot, but they're going to get you 17 points, and they're going to be used and relied on heavily by their teams. Um, and then we got the next tier is the very high quality still. These guys in this tier are, they're flirting with the guys in the tier above sometimes, some games. So if, you're going up against a guy that's in the tier above, the guys in the very high quality still, they're going to be able to hang. They're going to be great picks. These guys are getting you 15 points plus every game pretty consistently. Um, yeah, so I really like this tier. I think there's a lot of good value here. I wouldn't be upset if you just went round, you know, like three or four and just hammered in on these guys, or maybe two or three, depending on your league. But really solid guys. The next tier is major bargains, 15 plus easily. The wide receiver room these days is deep. And, a lot of people last year were doing hero wide receiver, kind of getting away from the hero RB. And, there's a lot of different ways you could attack it. Right now, we're just looking at the receivers. But what I do want to emphasize on is there is a lot of depth. For instance, we have about 20, 25 guys sitting here. That's almost going to be. So this is the wide receiver ones and the wide receiver twos, I guess is a good way to put it. Depending on your league, this could be a wide receiver three or four. But yeah, no, we got like 30 guys here. So yeah, like wide receiver threes are even popping up here. Um, but I would say these major bargains, there is a lot of them. Even the flirting with 15 guys, you could argue that the flirting with 15 could be moved up, and you definitely that would be warranted. My only issue is with the guys in the bottom tier is that they're either inconsistent or they don't really ever go above 15, and they don't really hit high 20s. Now, Calvin Ridley, he did a lot of that last year, except he had a lot of days where he was giving you 9 points, 8 points, 5 points, 2 points, like crazy shit numbers, like selling your ass. Yeah, maybe had him last year. So, but yeah, and then like a guy like DK Metcalf, like people are like, oh my God, DK Metcalf, dude, everyone's too high on DK Metcalf, way too high. I'm telling you. If you're gonna get him at a discount. Do not waste your time. Don't move him up a tier. Do not. That's my thought on it. Chris Godwin, he's good. He's had his years. I think Mike Evans is just the guy with Baker Mayfield, quite honestly. Jaden Reed, that guy, he might step it up, I'll be honest. Rashee Rice, I don't know if he's going to do any more than he did last year, but I'm sure he will improve, and he'll likely be moved up a little bit. You know, I think they're going to come out guns blazing. The Chiefs with Mahomes this year. I think Mahomes is going to do a lot better. I think the team overall is going to be throwing the ball a lot better. You could just make arguments for all these guys, but essentially the best way to look at it is you got your 20 points plus boy. These guys are a given. I'm going to say Justin Jefferson 1, CeeDee Lamb 2, Tyreek Hill 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown 4, and Jamar Chase 5. Okay. Now, years prior, Jamar Chase was always going number two. Overrated. Overrated. I'm telling you guys. He is top tier, but he does not deserve to be number two. If you want to draft a number two, that's fine. He is a 20 points plus boy. So, but CeeDee Lamb, man, every year he's gotten better. He is a stud, and the points per game he got last year was nice. I think he did around 23 PPR points. I mean, that's right next to Jefferson. I mean, Jefferson is next to none, but I mean, CD's right there with him. Tyreek Hill, oh my gosh, amazing season. He is still that guy. The way they run their offense with him, phenomenal. He has downfield touchdowns every game. I mean, 70 yarders. He will flip the projections in your week every fucking week. You will be like a 30% down, and then all of a sudden he'll get a 70-yard touchdown, and now you're 70% chance to win. So, I mean, he is a stud. Do not count him out. And, honestly, among all these five guys, I would take Tyreek Hill over all five of these guys. And that is simply because he is probably going to fall to round two. He might go late round one, but essentially these five guys are likely to go before Tyreek Hill because people are going to be betting on age. They're going to say, "Oh, he's too old." Did he look old last year? He was a top 3 receiver. He was not looking old. He is still that guy. Look at the guy. He's just like fucking look at his body. Pardon my French. That was a little excessive, but anyways, I digress. Kid's a stud, and you're probably gonna get him at a discount. It's gonna be awesome. Now, Amon Ra, stud, gonna keep doing what he's doing. I don't think he'll improve too much more, but we know what he is. We know what he's gonna do, and we know the offense leans on him. And very solid offense. I'll put him over Jamar Chase. You know, those Bengals last year, very disappointing. You had a banged up Joe Burrow, just kind of falling apart. They gave up halfway through the season. I think Jamar put up like sub 17 points per game. So technically he should be moved down. But we've seen him be in this tier years prior. So we're going to keep him here, but he goes to the back. All right, next one. 17 plus they will run. Puka Nacua. Who would have ever thought this? No one. I mean, in my leagues, he was undrafted. In my dynasty league, he was undrafted. I have a smaller dynasty league. But this guy is a certified stud. I mean, he impressed. That's all I got to say. And he could have even had more touchdowns, if I'm being honest. I think the targets he was getting is probably perfect. I think he could do even a little bit more. I think maybe they could draw up some plays where he's just a little more efficient. But I don't see him falling at all. I think he'll stay here. And then there's the off chance that he might move up. So I'm going to put him to the front. So, yeah, he's a stud. I would definitely recommend grabbing him round 2. Absolutely a good find. I mean, round 2 in your drafts, guys, it's really hard to find a 17-plus point guy that's a receiver, running back. Like, that's tough to find. Very good value you're probably going to get him at. There's a chance he goes above these guys, before. And then that just means, hey, you lucked out. You got some of these guys. Okay, moving on. A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was a stud last year. They leaned on him so much. I mean, that guy consistently did 15 points per game given. Like, there was like 1 week, I think, that was bad. It was like 9 points, and that was it. I can't really remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure he did 15-plus points every week, and I think he ended the season like in the 17-plus range. So, absolutely a stud. I want to say he was flirting with 20s. Halfway through the season, and then maybe had a few games kind of pulled him back a little bit towards the end there, I think. But yeah, he was an absolute certified stud. Moving on, Nico Collins. Nico Collins had his 3rd-year breakout, and quite honestly, it was all due to CJ Stroud. But Nico Collins is a stud, and he plays the same position these guys do. And quite honestly, he's either going to stay the same or be a little better. He had take over games. He was dropping 35-point bombs multiple times, 29s, 27s. He was hitting high numbers, like almost 200-yard games with 2 touchdowns. Like, that is a monster. And that CJ Stroud is likely to do somewhere in between 4 to 5,000 yards. And yes, we got Diggs there, we got Tank Dell there. I think those three are going to be the solidified starters. I don't see much movement of any other plays. I'm assuming those three will dominate all the targets. So just do the math, divide, let's just cut 4,500, cut that in the middle, 4,500 yards CJ will throw. Let's just say that you split that by 3. That is 1,500 yards a person. I think they all could hit 1,000, all 3 of them, quite honestly. And, as long as we don't have Joe Mixon stealing too many touchdowns away, these guys are going to be scoring touchdowns, quite honestly, a lot. I rank Nico Collins very highly. I did not like seeing Stefon Diggs come, but, however, there might be a better chance that Nico Collins will be able to be open downfield for touchdowns more often. We'll have to wait and see, but I still rate him very highly. He is definitely certified stud, 17 plus. They will run. He's going downfield. All right, moving on. Davante Adams, still a stud. He was always that guy. He was always a 20 points plus boy. But, he's getting older. That offense was kind of shit last year. But we're not going to count him out. He's still that guy. He still did good. He still had good weeks. I think he had like a 45-point week. I mean, I would say he could be moved down. Arguably could be moved down. I'll be quite honest. However, there's a very good chance you could get him at a really good discount. I think he's going to be one of those guys people are scared to pick. I think once we break off from Nico Collins, I quite honestly think we might have a little bit of a breather in our drafts where you could get Davante Adams maybe in round 3, round 4. I mean, it depends on your league and what people are valuing, but I think he'll be a really good value, and he's probably still warranted and still should be picked relatively early. Wide receiver 2, at worst. I mean, he's a stud. So moving on, I think we kind of just we glazed over these 2 tiers a little bit too much. We'll move on to the very high quality still. We'll kind of run through these a little faster. Starting off, Chris Olave. Chris Olave, man, that guy is solid. He is steady and solid, and that offense leans on him, and they're probably going to lean on him even more next year in his 3rd-year breakout. I mean, they didn't have anybody else last year, and they don't have anyone else this year. They only have Chris Olave. Chris Olave was giving you 15 points per game every week, and he would, very rarely ever go over 20. But I want to say that was in large part due to the touchdowns. They were using Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara. I mean, those guys were getting the touchdowns like exclusively. Those guys were eaten last year. I was hearing they might kind of get away from the Taysom Hill style. I don't know why they would do that. I think it was really good. I think it worked very well. However, that's good for Chris Olave. And I think they're gonna try and lean on him even more. And I'm just really happy with what you get with Chris Olave. He is very solid, very consistent. You know what you're getting, and he's a really good player that people aren't really as high on yet. I mean, he made some spectacular catches. He's quick. He's got all the things you want in a receiver. Yeah, I'm really high on him, and I put him at the front of my tier list for the very high quality still. Moving on, Mike Evans. Mike Evans, holy cow. Is this guy the guy you want to pick every year? I mean, come on, guys. Like, I got him for free in my dynasty because we just started it up and no one wanted to draft an older guy. So I got him and I played him every week last year. And he had arguably one of his best seasons ever with Baker Mayfield starting for the first year with him. Fantastic. He loves Mike Evans. Baker does. And they're running it again. Baker and Mike Evans. and they did not upgrade their receiver room. So, either you're getting the same or you might get a little more or a little worse. But Mike Evans, he did better than Chris Olave last year. He put up arguably 17 points per game, PPR points, but I think it was like sub 17. I think it was 16.9. Anyways, phenomenal. He was giving you 25-point games all the time. And then the games, that kind of brought the average down a little bit. He was doing like 8s and 9s. So something to consider. Chris Olave wasn't doing that as much. But Mike Evans was hitting higher points per game on the games he was doing well in. So imagine they run it back. There's a chance that they're a little more efficient with it and get Mike Evans kind of going. Usually it took till he was more of a second half guy in my opinion, so it was hard to get him going essentially. So the games he was getting 8 points per game, they just really couldn't get him going. He was probably getting double teamed downfield. Anyways, I digress. He's a stud. He's a certified stud. He's not looking old. Draft him. You're going to get him at a discount and a deal. I mean, just do it. Chris Olave is going off the board before Mike Evans, man, and he did better than Chris Olave, so just do it. All right, let me take a sip of this coffee. I'm rambling, but appreciate you guys for sticking with me on this, but these are my thoughts. You guys are going to have your own thoughts, but I'm just laying out to you what I think and what I feel strongly on. Deebo Samuel. Whew. Deebo is sketchy. I'll be honest. I don't like drafting Deebo. I'm not a fan of Deebo. He had that 1 year. That 1 year where he was a top 3 receiver. That was it. And it was like 300 fantasy points per game. 300 fantasy points for the year. Nico Collins put up like 270 last year while missing 2 games. That's all I got to say. Anywho, Deebo he's a wild card, man. I'll tell you what, he kind of beat a lot of my league mates up last year towards the end of the season. And, he was doing like 15 points per game, and then all of a sudden he's just dropping 30 bombs for like 3-4 games in a row. And you're just like, wow, is Deebo still that guy? I would not place all my chips on him. I'll be quite honest. We're yet to kind of understand how they're going to be running their receivers next year. And we know they got that Ricky Pearsall guy. Ricky Pearsall is no slouch, and they're going to use him. Probably going to use him a lot more than they use Jawan Jennings. I don't know. How I feel about him is I'll pass. But he still ended the year just a little under 17 points per game. So he stays in the very high quality still. Moving on. DJ Moore, he was actually very solid last year. He was playing with Justin Fields. Now, I want to put his success and his downfalls last year on Justin Fields. I want to blame Justin Fields for that. Justin Fields, he has those games where he does really well and looks really, really awesome. And, DJ Moore was his favorite target. And, DJ Moore did very, very well last year handling that. He was catching most of his targets. And he was getting 100, 150 yards. He was getting a touchdown or two. He averaged I want to say he averaged 17 or maybe just under 17 points per game last year. But he was giving you those 9-point weeks sometimes. And, granted, this year we got Caleb Williams. However, we got Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze. Oh, man, this is a tough one, especially because I own him in Dynasty. Gosh, I tell you what, I would consider being careful with DJ Moore this year. I'll be quite honest. He might just do exactly what he did last year, and that would be very high quality still. But I'm a little worried. So if we didn't have Keenan Allen and we didn't have Rome Odunze, but we had Caleb Williams, I'd probably put him in front of Deebo. But, it's just these two guys I'm a little worried about. Moving on. Let's move on. Stefon Diggs. I'm kind of a Stefon Diggs hater as of late. I'm a Vikings fan. I liked him when he was with us. He was always a diva, but I liked him when he was with us. And granted, he's been way better on the Bills, but now he's not with the Bills. Now he's with CJ and the Texans. You know, I'm gonna be honest. I think Nico's gonna see the best of it. I think Nico's gonna be stretching downfield while Diggs and Tank Dell are working the middle. And I think there's gonna be a lot of targets thrown in the slot in the middle, but Tank Dell and Diggs are gonna have to split it. Quite honestly, it's just how it's gonna be. Tank Dell was a beast in the end zone too, so I mean, I don't know. We can't root Diggs out. He was a 20 points plus boy last year. I mean, or sorry, 2 years ago, but last year he was sub 17. I mean, and then just granted, he's with Nico Collins and Tank Dell. I mean, if he was with the Bills still, I put him in the 17 plus they will run category. He's still Stephon Diggs. We're seeing some decline. There's a reason the Bills got rid of him, and he's kind of toxic. But however, I mean, the guy's always healthy, and he gets targets. He gets 10 targets a game. Yeah, I don't know. He's still going to be solid, but I would say you should not be valuing him like you valued him in years prior. Keep that in mind. Moving on. Marvin Harrison Jr. Hmm. 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 Guy is a 20 points plus boy. I hope you guys know that. If you guys have watched any of the prospects, just watch some film. Like you just really gotta dive deep into film and just kind of like for yourself understand why players are good, what makes them good. Not every player plays the same. However, this guy can do it all. He looks like Justin Jefferson out there. I would like quite honestly, I mean, he's got that length that Jefferson has. He's got that speed that Jefferson has, and he's got that agility and like quick, more so what I'm trying to get at is it's the catch radius is what it is. And just the flexibility to make the catches. I mean, Marvin Harrison, holy cow, man. He probably should move up, but we're not going to place so much weight on a rookie. But man, this guy is a stud. I mean, if he does well this year, he's only going to move up. So, but for now, we're going to put him in this category. And if he's going to be your wide receiver too, I'm not mad at you. If he's going to be your wide receiver one, I'm saying you should be careful. You should maybe not be taking such a risk, especially when your wide receiver one should be a guy who's proven and is going to remain good. I mean, Puka, AJ Brown, Nico Collins. I don't think you should be drafting Marvin Harrison before those guys. So keep that in mind. Now, could we move Marvin to the front of this tier list? I think so. I think this guy is warranted. He's just quite simply amazing. Um, yeah, I digress. He's gonna be the only target pretty much, with the Cardinals. And, Kyler Murray, yeah, he's no joke. I mean, Kyler Murray throws and he runs, but I mean, Marvin's gonna be great, likely. So, do what you will with that. Do what you will with that. That's all I gotta say. Let's move on. We're kind of spending a lot of time here, but let's go with the major bargains, 15 plus points easily. I'm going to be honest. You should likely. I mean, you gotta take advantage of these guys. These guys in specific, I personally would not. I would make sure these guys are your wide receiver 2 or 3. I would not let the tier below be your wide receiver 2 or 3. The tier below, the flirting with 15, they could be your wide receiver 3. But absolutely do not let them be your wide receiver 2. You'll be hurting. I'll be honest, you'll be hurting. But these major bargains, 15 plus easily, they're very solid wide receiver 2s. If you get them at wide receiver 3, you know, very solid. You'll have a good wide receiver room. So let's start it off. I do have these guys kind of in order, but it could be changed up a little bit. There's a lot of guys in this tier. but here's how I'll say it. Tank Dell, he was doing 17 plus points per game until he got hurt. Until he got hurt and he like got out halfway through the game or so. Like long story short, this guy, Tank Dell, he should be moved up. I'll be quite honest. Dude, it was balling. He was getting every touchdown from CJ too. And you know what? Apparently, he was their first down monster. He was like leading the league in like first down percentage. Like this guy is a certified stud. You should absolutely draft him. Absolutely. He is already back. He's doing OTAs and apparently looking really good. I mean, he's still looking quick. He's looking like Tank Dell. So I think he's good. You should absolutely draft him. He is a stud. I mean, he's tied to he's tied to CJ Stroud. Absolutely. Absolutely draft that guy. All right, give me a second. I got to take a sip here. Coffee's getting cold, damn. All right, yeah, it's good morning here. All right, next up, Brandon Aiyuk. Yeah, Brandon Aiyuk. Yeah, he's good. He's good. There's some target competition there. He's never been a 20 points plus boy. He's kind of the flirting with 7, more so a 15 guy. Absolutely warranted. You should take him. He was complaining about not getting enough targets. I don't think they want to lose him, man. I think they're gonna try and do right by him. Arguably, I don't thinking about it right now. I don't know why I have Debo ranked ahead of Brandon, so much, but we're just gonna keep it as is. But Brandon, man, he's solid. He's good value. I mean, he kind of reminds me of Chris Olave, where he's gonna give you 15 points per game, and he's gonna have those 50-yard touchdowns, out of nowhere, and all of a sudden flips it. He's solid. I mean, right next to Tank Dell, man. I mean, you can't beat it. The value is there. Moving on, Amari Cooper slept on heavily, and you know what held him back last year? Getting double teamed downfield. They got Jerry Jeudy now. Hopefully that helps him get freed up a little bit. I will say Joe Flacco was a big reason for holding Amari Cooper's value last year. However, Amari Cooper has always been solid. He's never been a complete bust, but he hasn't ever been a very high quality 70 plus they will run type. But if he goes super late in your draft, his value is warranted. He definitely can give you. The only sad thing is like I wasn't really impressed with Deshaun Watson sometimes and Amari Cooper's connection together. There was weeks that Amari Cooper put up 5 points, and that is gonna lose you a week. So I think I'm gonna actually take Amari Cooper and I'm gonna move him behind Devontae Smith and Keenan Allen. So let's talk about those two. Devontae Smith. Man, he is a good wide receiver too. Arguably the best wide receiver too in the league. Granted, we got, CJ Stroud's group doing stuff now, so we're not going to mention that. But probably last year, I would say, was probably kind of a step back. But I think they're going to try and come back to how it was prior. Man, this guy's a stud. Good value. Quite honestly, you could argue putting him over Brandon Aiyuk. Man, good value. I would definitely grab him if you can. Keenan Allen, he's always been underrated. He's always been good. Arguably just as good as Mike Evans. He's getting up there, though. He's getting up there, and he actually has a lot of injuries. So that's kind of my only issue on him. And, now he's going into that crowded receiver room with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. He's only on a 1-year contract. They might try and use him a lot and lean on him because they're probably not going to want to trust Rome as much. But solid wide receiver too, man. Solid. My only concern is injury issues. So, yeah, let's move on. Garrett Wilson, guys. Garrett Wilson he's not bad. I mean, 3rd-year breakout. I mean, he's just as good as Chris Olave, in my opinion. Pair him up with Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully they play the whole year together. Man, I tell you what, it was just preseason that they had that one drive on, but I think it was two passes to Garrett Wilson, and it looked like the connection was there. I mean, Garrett Wilson could move up into this tier. I don't know if he'll be the very high quality 17 plus they will run, but man, he could move to the front of this list this year. That's for sure. Now moving on, Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup guys. Oh, Cooper Cup was once that guy, 20 points plus boy. Last year, injuries coming into the year, came back halfway through, tried to ride it, got injured again. Man, that's tough. He's older. Now he's battling with Puka Nakua, and it just seemed like that kind of affected him. I'm not even gonna lie. Despite them being friendly with each other, it seemed like Cooper just couldn't get in his stride, and maybe that was because of the injury, but I don't know. So you got to be careful with him. Everyone got him at a bargain last year. He's probably going to be at an even better bargain this year. But man, I would not draft him ahead of any of these other guys. Maybe you could argue draft him above, some guys in that are ahead of him in this tier. But yeah, I don't know. It's a sketchy situation. Injuries, it's if the guy's going to be injured, you, I mean, he's worthless then for you. It's like imagine he gets hurt halfway through the season. It's the second half of the season. I mean, you're losing in the playoffs. Imagine he gets hurt in the first half of the season. You're not making it to the playoffs. You know what I mean? That's just a good way to think about it. Injuries are terrible. So it's very important to rely on guys that play and stay healthy. So, moving on. Michael Pittman Jr. He's pretty underrated. He's pretty solid. He's nothing crazy, but he's like kind of like I mean, he's kind of like Chris Olave. I just kind of feel like Chris Olave is going to break out a little better. I just kind of, I might be a little too high on this Chris Olave guy, but Michael Pittman Jr., man, he's like pretty damn similar. He's giving you 15 points per game, all day, every day. Solid pick, like super safe. Um, I suppose we haven't really seen him with Anthony Richardson entirely, but I don't know. I think he's solid, and they rely on him a decent amount. He's worth keeping. Um, I mean, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, all day for sure. Drake London, possible breakout candidate. He's going in his year 3, might have his year 3 breakout. He's going to be paired up with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins throws for 4,000 yards at least, and he throws at relatively good, percentages, good passes. He just came from playing with Justin Jefferson. He's going to be looking for a guy that's similar. And, they don't have anyone else. So why not bet on Drake London? Quite honestly, Drake London could be a stud this year. We don't know. But what we do know is that he was a tier below last year. And now everyone's placing their bets on Drake London. And, I'm there with them. I'm quite there with them. I think he's going to be better. However, if he goes above any of these guys, yeah, let him have him. Like, there's no way he's going to be a 17 plus point guy. I mean, just let's be realistic here. I mean, I think he did 11 points per game last year. 17 plus is quite a jump. Granted, Nico Collins did the same. However, I don't know. I just think it's a little different. I don't know. So it's yet to be seen. I guess that's the better way to put it. So, yeah, just be careful. All right, moving on. Jalen Waddle, last one in the list. In the tier list. This tier, sorry. It's good coffee. Jalen Waddle. Yeah, you guys are way too high on Jalen Waddle. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it, guys. I mean, people think he's like Patrick Mahomes, man. Like it's ridiculous. Like his seasons were not that great. I think he did like a 250. Yeah, I think it was what was it his second year, and then he just did his third year. I can't. Yeah, I think that's how it was. Anyways, I'm not super high on him. I don't trust him, and I don't. I think Tyreek Hill is like the focus of that offense, It just seems like Jalen Waddle has like not a lot to be desired. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be working like last year. If you really want to bet and like take that risk, be my guest. I mean, I don't know. It's just me personally. I'd rather just like let someone else have him and have to deal with that kind of shit. It like say like all these guys went, and you're like, oh well, I really need my wide receiver 2 or 3. I mean, if it's wide receiver 2, grab him. If it's wide receiver 3, maybe just wait for these guys down here. I don't know. I don't like it.